Launch sequence activated. Stabilizing.
Authorizing. Username accepted.
Well. Welcome back to the Single Father Podcast. I am your host, Father Deezy, aka Kendall Donaker, and today we're embarking on a new journey together. A series that dives deep into life's big questions. Why are we here? In the hustle of day-to-day life, especially as single fathers, it's easy to get caught up in the immediate tasks. Making breakfast, dropping off the kids at school, juggling work and home life. But there are moments, often when the house finally quiets down and when we find ourselves pondering the bigger picture. Why are we here? What is life's purpose? What is our purpose? I took a break from the podcast because, like many of you, I was grappling with these questions myself. But having taken some time to reflect and gather some insights, I'm back, and I want to bring you all along on this exploration, this journey that I'm in. So, each week, we'll tackle these existential crisis questions, hear from voices in our community, and try to uncover a little more about what makes this journey of life and fatherhood so significant.
I love you, Daddy.
Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what is it exactly that made me take a year off of the podcast? Well, we'll get into those in later episodes. But today's a good one for me. This first episode is a journey into finding purpose in parenthood. As single dads, fathers, even parents, our days are packed with tasks, challenges, and sometimes we can feel overwhelming. But amidst all of this, there's a profound journey of discovery. Discovering what drives us, what keeps us going, and ultimately, what our purpose might be. Being a parent, especially a single parent, challenges us in ways we have never imagined. But it also brings rewards that are just as unimaginable. Every struggle in parenting is paired with moments of profound joy and realization. Today, we're going to explore how fatherhood shapes our understanding of purpose. How does this relentless responsibility influence our views on what is the meaning of life? I remember one evening, it was just me and my daughter. We were watching the stars from the porch. Just me, her, some popcorn. We were talking the entire time, just about funny stuff and how she believes that Barbies were discovered on the moon. And then we had a quiet moment. Simple, quiet, and yet it was one of these moments that make you feel incredibly significant and insignificant all at once. It's these moments that often make us, or me, pause and think about what the bigger picture. Why am I here? Not just as a father, but as a person navigating this complex world. Something was special about being with my daughter that day. That was one of the days that made me quit the podcast, because that was the day that my daughter, while we were sitting there on the porch together, looking at the stars, she turned to me with this curious gaze and asked, "Dada, why are we on Earth?" It's one of those questions that can make you stop in your tracks, isn't it? My daughter asking me, why are we here? The question from a 5-year-old's innocent curiosity hits harder when you're a single father. It makes you think not just about the grand cosmic reasons of it all, but why you are here in this moment, in this role as a father. And that's what we're going to dive into today. How does being a single dad, or even a parent, shape our understanding of our purpose in life? Every day, as single dads, we face routines, We wake up, we make breakfast, we prepare our little ones for school, we go to work, we cook, bedtime stories, rinse and repeat. But as I know, and as a lot of you know, it doesn't always go quite as planned, right? The whole thing sounds mundane, but there's magic into the planned shape of it all. Each of these moments hold a weight, a purpose. They're the threads that kind of weave into the tapestry of our child's memories and values. But listen, I know, and you know, what we're thinking right now. What if we can't get everything as planned as it can be? I'll talk about that in a second. But let me tell you about this morning. I tried to put shoes on my daughter, right? Which was a challenge upon itself. But when I got her shoes on, I tied her laces, and she smiled at me. And I realized that these simple acts are actually like building blocks of trust and love. They are reassurances to her that her daddy is here, solid, reliable, and no matter what, it's these quiet and everyday gestures that our purpose as parents, as fathers, unfolds. And of course, fatherhood isn't without its hurdles. There's exhaustion, there's the financial strain, and the emotional roller coaster. Oh my gosh, let me tell you about the emotional roller coaster that is my daughter. When I was younger, someone told me it gets harder. This is when I first had my daughter. Someone told me it gets harder. I couldn't believe they said that to me. I don't know what it was about how they said it to me, or I just felt confused by the very aspect of someone not trying to lift me up or give me positive expectations. They straight up told me 3 words that have haunted me to this day: it gets harder. I felt that they were crazy. I didn't know what they meant at the time, but I do now. And let me explain. When I had my daughter, I think I had it easy. Let me tell you, my daughter was quiet. When she was born, me and her mother did sleep training, so it wasn't a big deal at all. Like, she slept through the night, and kids, little babies like that, oh my gosh, they can get away with anything. They're cute, they're cuddly, they're tiny. They cannot do no wrong. The crying doesn't really bother you. I mean, hell, they sleep through the day. They're like cats or dogs. They're wild for a little bit and then they kind of just lay around and sleep. I loved my little baby. And then came to the little pitter patters of her trying to, walk. The first steps that she took, oh my goodness. Beautiful. I can still remember her trying to reach for something on the counter. I mean, she got her body all the way up and she tried to reach for a little toy on the counter and she kept falling. She kept falling up and down, up and down. Oh my God, it was a beautiful moment just seeing my girl try to reach for something. Like she was reaching for the stars, reaching, and gave all her body and might to try to do it until she took her first 2 steps, and until a week after that, she walked. Beautiful. Gosh. Oh, gosh. It was beautiful. But when she started walking, I don't know if beautiful is the right word. I'd say concerning. Telling them not to walk out on the street, telling them to follow you, getting them to follow you, getting them not to be distracted by a shiny toy in the store, getting them not to hide in clothing racks at the store to play peekaboo with you. That is a challenge upon itself. But the next thing is where I really got the meaning of it gets harder. Because you gotta walk before you can, what? Once they learn to walk, they learn to, run. Every parent right now knows exactly what I'm talking about. Running. Oh my gosh, this is the challenging part. Don't run in the street. Don't do this. Don't run over here. You scraped your elbow. Oh my gosh, you ran into a wall. You thought the screen was actually a door. And no, it's not a door, it's a screen. And you fell right through it. And oh my gosh, the money and the pain. And my daughter, ooh boy. And they'll run from you from anything. They'll run from you when you're trying to brush their hair, when you're trying to put medicine on them, when you're trying to put sunblock on them. They'll run from you just if you scare them. They'll run from you just because they think you're trying to play monsters and there are cops and robbers with them. But no, you're really trying to get them to bed. They'll run from you if you try to make them brush their teeth or do anything that involves something that they don't want to do. They can run, and when they run, they keep running. And oh my gosh, it's a matter of who runs out of breath first, right? When my daughter learned to run, I truly meant what it got, or the meaning of it gets harder. And as a single dad, every decision, every burden rests squarely on your shoulders. But every challenge is a moment of growth, not just for me, but for her. If I want to talk about growth, I have to talk about what I was growing from. So let me take you back before my daughter was born, into the 9 months prior to her arriving, the time that I actually found out that I was having a baby. I was in college. And if any of you listen to the podcast, you've known my challenges with the pregnancy of my daughter. Now, let me preface this by saying, in the time that I took away from my podcast, I learned 2 things. Number 1, I could have shared a lot more than I did. And number 2, I think I shared a lot more than I should have. So, with respect to, other people involved in my own personal life, I'm going to be a little vague with how I address this story. But nonetheless, I did have a challenge with my daughter's pregnancy. The challenge being that more so, I had no idea if I was ready. When I found out that I was having a baby, I was confused. In the environment I was in, I was around a whole bunch of dudes that didn't give me really great advice about how to be a parent. Not really because they meant out to do wrong. It's just because they weren't a parent themselves, and I don't think any of us were mature at that time. So I was around a whole bunch of people that gave me poor advice, and I didn't really listen to my heart. You see, my parents were divorced. And if there's one thing I can say is that I didn't grow up seeing a happy household, nor did I see what it truly is to be a man, to step up to the plate and do the right thing. Let's just say that. I didn't see any of those things. Everything that I knew from dating to parenthood all came from movies. Everything that I know on how to be a man or how to change a diaper, hell, it all came from movies, TV shows, things that I've learned along the way. But I was perplexed with myself at the time. Am I ready to become a father? Is this something that I'm capable of? What will it mean for me? What will it mean for my life? Who will I become after I'm a parent? What if me and this girl don't work out? Will I become a single father like I am right now? How would that work? I don't want to become my parents. I don't want to split custody. And what if we do work out? Am I ready to be that house husband who puts on an apron and makes cookies in the afternoon and bends over backwards to make pancakes in the morning? Am I ready for marriage, long-term commitment? Am I ready? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Why am I here? Is this my purpose? And I struggled with that. That idea, the complexity of it all. For 9 months, I struggled. And then that moment came where it was finally time to be introduced to my daughter. Boom. Standing right next to her mother, my daughter comes out. Beautiful. This beautiful little girl. At that moment, I knew 2 things. Number 1, whether I'm ready or not to be a parent, I'll do what I have to do. And number 2, I will love this girl for the rest of my life. Those 2 things were a driving force for me, then and now. I don't think anyone's ever ready to become a parent. I think it's something that you have to do, and you figure it out. And I'll tell you this, no matter how many parenting books you read, or no matter how many advice you get from other parents and movies or TV shows that you watch, you figure it out yourself. I think every parent can somewhat agree to that, right? You kind of just figure it out on your own. And the moments that you fail and the moments that you succeed, you grow and you learn from it. There's been a lot of failures that I've had along the way. Shortly after my daughter was born, me and her mother broke up. And it's something that has since not been able to ever be recovered. For good reasons, but I failed my daughter on that, in my own personal opinion. But I've had a lot of successes along the way. No one's, if I may say, I don't think there's a lot of support for single fathers out there. No one knows what it's like to be judged when you're out and about, people wondering where mom is, people not appreciating that you're not a babysitter, you're their father. People look at you as that disgruntled father that you only see your kid on the weekends or holidays, and no offense to anyone who is, but listen, I have my daughter 50-50. I am full-on committed father. No one understands the court system and how they look badly upon fathers and favor mothers, and in some cases I will say that, and probably most cases I'll say that is rightfully so. But in my case, in some of your cases out there, you're just begging for the chance to get to know and be in your child's life as much as possible. No one knows those struggles. You grow from them. If there's one thing that I've figured out in my life is that you figure it out. Because that's what a man does. That's what a parent does. When times are tough, when the walls are closing in, you MacGyver that crap and you figure it out. You figure a way out. You persevere. You move forward because you have someone, a little one, maybe little ones that rely on you. And every decision that you make, every moment that you take, it's all for not just the greater good. It's all for them. The growth that I found from those 9 months till now is that part of my purpose is to keep moving forward. Not just because it's good for me, but because it's right for her. Let me give you an example. There was a time last year when I had to juggle a major project at work with my daughter's gymnastics class. She had a play there, and the stress was overwhelming. I was balancing deadlines and my own personal life with relationships and her rehearsals. And then seeing her on that grand scale, on the stage, her eyes searching for me while she was doing her little toddler play, and seeing her light up when our eyes met and she knew that I was there. Those are the moments that redefine our sense of purpose. As tired as I was, and as beat and exhausted as I was, and as much as I wanted to, I really had to be on my computer at the time and do this or do that, I sat still. I took a breath. I put my phone down. And I moved forward. I pushed through the pain, the hurt, the stress, the tiredness. And I was just present in that moment, looking for my daughter as she looked for me. And in her eyes, I saw my purpose. These personal victories and everyday challenges beg the question, what is our purpose here? Is it to nurture, to teach, to guide, or is it something more? As single fathers, we uniquely shape our child's understanding of the world. We teach them resilience, how to face challenges head on, how to rise after falling. And trust me, every parent knows there are many times when they fall. But the biggest lesson is to get back up. We are their first impression of what strength, compassion, and perseverance look like. There's a situation that I've been dealing with recently in my personal life. It's what made me want to get back into podcasting. Something that has been taking a extreme, emotional, and deep, undeniable toll on me. It's been affecting my health, been affecting a lot of different things. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, I have my daughter 1 week on, 1 week off. And I'll tell you this. This situation I'm dealing with, it really just came from, let's just say, bad news that was brought on to me. Well, when I got this news, my daughter was with me. And there's so many ways that I wanted to handle this news. So many ways. But instead of doing any of those multiple things that I'm sure all of you could possibly think of, I took my daughter to the park. We got ice cream. We laughed together. And then I watched a movie with her in bed while eating some snacks. And I fell asleep with her in my arms. Because I will never let her see, not necessarily weakness, but to see what giving up looks like. To see what it looks like to not move forward. Because that wouldn't just be giving up on myself. That would be giving up on her. And that I will never do. So, whether she's with me or with her mom, I act in the same way. I keep moving forward, and I kill a demon today and face the devil tomorrow, baby. I move forward. I persevere. I keep going. And maybe, just maybe, that's why we're here. To be their guide, their protector, their hero, and sometimes their biggest fan. It's a monumental task. It really is. But it's also a glorious burden and the most fulfilling role we could ever hope to play. As every moment comes my way where I tell my daughter to brush her teeth and she tells me that she did while point blank looking at me in the eyes with Oreo cookies all over her face and teeth. For every moment where I just want to sleep alone without being pushed off the bed, so I put her in her room at night only to be waken up at 2 a.m. in sheer fear as I see a little person's shadow pitter-pattering towards my bed, slamming open my door with the power of Zeus, and jumping in my bed and falling asleep immediately without thinking anything ever happened at all. I'll take those moments, those beautiful, chaotic, unplanned moments every day over anything else, because it's where I find purpose. And as we wrap up today's episode, I invite you to reflect on your journey as a father, as a parent, and think about the moments that have tested you, the moments that have defined you. Consider the legacy that you're building every time you tell a bedtime story. Every hug, every stern word, every unconditional affirmation of love. And for those of you still searching for the answers to why are we here, look down at those little faces looking up at you with trust and wonder, and you'll find that you are living your purpose every single day. Thank you for joining me on the Single Father Podcast. Please stay tuned for future episodes as we explore and go into depth on single fatherhood and on this series, Why Are We Here? Week after week, we're going to be discussing the existential question of why are we here? Today's episode was finding purpose within parenthood, and week after week, we'll explore a new topic on what purpose and what life can bring to us to find the purpose on why we are here. Maybe we'll have some guests, hopefully introduce some new things to the podcast that we haven't done before. I'm excited about what's to come. Now, I want to do some housekeeping real quick because it's been a while. As you guys know, I haven't done the podcast in quite some time, so things are a little different and a little chaotic, and I want to give some structure as of right now for anyone who's listening. So, anyone who's interested in viewing our show notes or staying up to date with episodes can go to ventpack.org, and you can view those things there. Ventpack is quite simply this organization that I founded to help single fathers along the way into becoming newly fathers or being introduced to some resources that are out there that maybe they're not familiar with. Hopefully I can speak about that organization as time goes on, but for now, if you're just interested in looking at show notes or staying up to date, ventpack.org. I'm posting more consistently on our social media pages now. So if you guys want to be a supporter of our podcast, I would really appreciate it if you like and subscribe to our pages, which is going to be the Single Father Podcast, pretty much all around, except for, I think, Twitter. But it's the Single Father Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and even our Patreon. If you want to become a patron of the podcast, I'll introduce some really cool things as far as maybe having our top-tier patrons becoming a guest on the podcast and discussing their own personal challenges and tribulations and success stories about becoming a parent, about becoming a father, and sharing some words of wisdom for anyone who's out there as well. I think that'll be a very beautiful thing that we'll be introducing sometime soon. But really what I have to tell you guys is I'm back. You know, I'm going to do this podcast once again, and hopefully this time, it'll go well where I don't ever have to leave again. But it really helps if you guys like and subscribe to our pages. Again, the Single Father Podcast. Become a patron, support the podcast. Hopefully you can bring some better content to you guys and do some more exciting things. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for the comments and, just the support in general. I really love doing this. I really love sharing this community of people who have been so supportive, and I know we all can support each other. So, until next time, I am your host, Father Deezy, Kendall Donaker. Until next time, keep embracing the journey, one step, one day, one starry night at a time.
You look from every angle. This time I promise you it runs deep. Yeah, this is hardwired. And I don't care about the fact that I don't belong here. And every time I close my eyes, still it's hardwired. Oh, this is hardwired.
Goodbye.